best, or else I'ma really be depressed. Looking like a fool in front of you. Don't give me those eyes, I just wanna tell the truth. I just gotta get it on my chest, or else I'ma really be depressed. Looking like a fool in front of you. Don't give me those eyes, I just wanna tell the truth. I just gotta get it on my chest.
All right, this is gonna be an Amber Steel versus Ruby Amethyst, and I'm gonna be piloting the Ruby Amethyst. I've played the Amber Steel on the left. These are both my decks. We're playtesting a bunch of different meta, and we're trying to see how to beat it, how to improve it, what are the right plays against it. One of the things that I definitely learned from playing the 3 games here is that you can't really exert your characters unless your opponent, unless you're like one for oneing, right? Or you swing at something, or you quest for something, and if they swing to that exerted character, they either die, right? So like, it's usually like one for one, or you live and they don't. That's the only time that you want to exert your characters as a Ruby Amethyst player, or actually just against Amber in general. That's like a good thing to keep in mind. I actually misplayed or did or exerted a couple of times in game two when I shouldn't have, even though I still had it in mind not to do it because Rapunzel, right? You're playing around Rapunzel because you don't want to give your opponent like unnecessary advantages for no reason at all, just because you want to quest for one or you want to draw one or you want to play a song for free, right? So the first couple of turns here actually, in my opinion, doesn't matter because if you're playing Ruby Amethyst, your whole like 6, 7 turns is just easing up the aggression from your opponent. So you're just trying to control the board so it doesn't get like over crowded where you have to have a be prepared, even though you most likely kept it before you mulligan the rest of your cards. Or yeah, you just don't want to be in a position where you have to rely on be prepared. But your first 6, 7 turns, it's just easing up the aggression, honestly. So right here, we are at ink 5, going to 6. Yep. Honestly, it's just trades, right? Back and forth. You don't want to swing when you don't have to. You don't want to quest when you don't have to. You don't have to sing when you don't have to. So as an Ruby Amethyst player, a lot of the times you want to look out for You've Forgotten Me, Rapunzel, Surfer Stitch, and if you're trading into a character, you I guess it kind of matters for the grab your sword, right? If you're gonna die to grab your sword or not, which most likely whatever you swing into, you're gonna die anyways because they probably have tank grab your sword. Even though I don't really recommend keeping or prioritizing grab your sword against Ruby Amethyst if you are playing Amber Steel, you'd rather draw into it later on when they have an actual board, because the Gaston, the Maleficent, they don't really matter. Rafiki, Zeus, like they don't really have it. Like they don't really do anything. They're probably gonna get banished as well, along with the be prepared. So you don't really care. So my opinion on Ruby Amethyst right now is that it's a really strong deck. I think personally, having to play it a couple of times or a lot of times actually at this point in the dojo, because we play test a lot, I actually really like the deck. The only reason I don't like playing it a lot in locals right now, because in Chicago we're kind of spoiled in locals. I don't like playing mirror match because it takes you the time most of the time, like probably 8 or 9 out of 10. You probably will be playing in time, in one game, so it's probably just the best one in mirror matches. It all comes down to like who has more brooms, I want to say, and who has like more numbers in their deck. So it's just a yeah, you just want to recycle with the brooms and you want to have just more cards than your opponent. because it probably most likely will go down to decking out. And I've yet to figure out a strategy where you can out quest your opponent in the mirror match, right? So if you build your deck like catered to the mirror match, you probably will have a lot of success. But then your aggro matchups is worse, right? Your steel amber matchups probably okay. Like it's not like worse or better. It's just okay. But with the aggro matchups, you just almost don't really have like a concrete way to combat that, right? So you're just praying that you draw the cards that you need to, or the couple of cards that you played in your deck to combat like early aggression. But like if you build your deck like specifically not for a certain deck, I feel like that's the better. In my opinion, that's how I would build my decks around, like an all-round type of thing, which is kind of unrealistic sometimes with the the cards that we have available to us. But yeah, I think there's just certain trade-offs, right? And if you're I want to say if you're playing my opinion on Amber Steel. Amber Steel is actually my favorite deck right now, the mid-range version, not the a whole new world, because I refuse to give my opponent 7, even though I'm gonna quest for like 9 and I'm gonna get blown up anyways. Amber Steel is probably one of my favorite decks right now. It can beat Ruby Amethyst. It doesn't have like a really bad matchup against it, and it could beat aggro obviously. It all just comes down to resources and how well you trade. Does the play that you make sense? A lot of times, like you just have to pass. Like if you have 7 inks and you don't really have like a proper play, and the only play you have is to play, I don't know, like a Eric. You just if that's all the play that you have, like sometimes it's better to just pass, because the Ruby Amethyst, or this game specifically, this matchup is really slow. So you can definitely take your time. You don't have to rush things, but you also don't want to get to a point where your opponent's just like clearing your board turn per turn per turn per turn, you know? So right here, there's really not much going on, honestly. Place a Tinker, pings for 1. I'm trying to just not get like traded with a Tinker. So I just quest for 1 here, I'm pretty sure. Restand. This is actually a good play from him. Double Grabber Sword, Tinkerbell into both of my Aladdins. I mean, that clears the board, but top deck of the century, I guess, right? Also have Rush, and I get to restand the guy. Ooh, I'm pretty sure yep. Place the Surface Stitch. Top decks it. That's like the worst feeling too. Like being in a position where you have 1 card and it's a Surface Stitch. It's rough. But I feel like if you're in a position like where you're in top decking in Amber Steel, I feel like it's really tough. Like you were already in um like a bad board state, I want to say, or bad game state. I'm not saying it's impossible to win. It's definitely possible to win, but just top decking is against Ruby Amethyst. It's just not it. A lot of the times, a Ruby Amethyst will out top deck you. A lot of the times, it's possible, but a lot of the times, Ruby Amethyst will definitely out top deck you. So I'm pretty sure this one's over. And I think Ruby Amethyst is actually just if you play enough games with Ruby Amethyst, you will find out how strong this deck is actually. So that was end of game 1. We're going to game 2. It's going to be best of 3, obviously. We just wanted to showcase like a bunch of experimental decks too here and there, but a lot of the times we do want to play like competitive, like meta, right? Because we are heading towards a competitive scene at some point, and locals is getting competitive because a lot of people now. This is like week 3, I think a month in, and people are starting to have cards. At first, you can like fool around and stuff. I was definitely fooling around, even though I had like these two complete decks. I wanted to have fun because it's Lorcana, and a lot of people don't really have the deck, so I wanted to have fun and play like a Stitch dedicated deck or a villain dedicated deck. So I really wanted to have fun with that. Right here, there's this not an argument. Well, I guess there's an argument to I what I realized, and that is that in the later turns against Ruby Amethyst, if you're playing Amber Steel, is playing Hook turn one kind of doesn't make sense. Holding Hook doesn't make sense either. If you're playing a card just to play a card, I guess, right? But Hook's not even healthy enough to like swing to someone and then heal from or heal with like Rapunzel. So Hook turn one doesn't really make sense. You're better off, from my experience, you're better off holding that Hook until like you're a turn eight. Let's say at turn seven, you play a Hans or an Ariel or just a character, the Cerberus or whatever. And on turn eight, you ink one, you play a Hook, you play the Stitch, right? So like I feel like that has more value than playing Hook turn one. You're not gonna like aggressively quest against Ruby Amethyst if you're playing this type of Amber Steel. It's possible, but the likelihood that's probably not gonna happen because you are a mid-range deck and you're playing towards like the mid-range, obviously, right? You're trying to control the board, clear the board, play a bunch of people, pass, play one guy, pass, draw two, pass. Like you're just trying to do mid-range stuff, which is I like that a lot in Amber Steel, honestly. But as a Ruby Amethyst, again, what you don't want to do is trade into stuff that you don't have to trade into, sing things that you don't have to sing. So this is actually this game actually is a good representation of what not to do. This game specifically, if you are Ruby Amethyst, later on you will see the misplays that I've made, and that's why I record the videos, local scene too, not just the dojo stuff, but local scene, so that I could like review the VOD, I guess, in a way, and look at what I have done, what I could have done, and how can I make it better, right? And I was thinking like if I'm doing all that, I might as well share my experience with everyone, and hopefully I could add something so that everyone could also learn how to play the game optimally and like I don't know, just play better, I guess, because we all just want to play better. If we play in a if we're trying to play into a more competitive scene later on in the future. And I've invested like way too much in this card game already. We all know how that goes, honestly. But yeah, I wanted to get all the cards as quick as possible. So right here, like you would think that it's not that I'm ahead, but I definitely have some kind of control. After like a back to back, be prepared is really like devastating to a lot of decks, honestly. My opponent here has two hand cards, and I just started the game. Honestly, like for Ruby Amethyst, the game actually doesn't like start until like 7, 8, 9. Honestly, or maybe more realistically 8 or 9. He's at 13. That's my favorite number. But I mean, I have complete control now, right? Because everything that he played before kind of just got like I don't know sent to the Shadow Realm, and I was trying to catch up and get back while I'm making boards, right? Here is at 7, right? Two hand cards, maybe, right? Two hand cards. If I get rid of both, then next turn he doesn't even have a play. That's why, like, I don't know. With or without, like, Stitch in hand, you play 4, so you probably will draw it. And you do, like, a filter through your deck a lot, so definitely you can draw it. So right here, ink 1, play, like, ink 1, play the Hook, draw for Stitch would have been, like, a really good play. As a Ruby Amethyst player too, you don't want your opponent to have two characters on board, because of Stitch, right? You just don't want him to get to that point where they're drawing for no reason. Where you could have outed the board, but you didn't want to because you're preserving it for like a bigger play, which doesn't exist. So here you can even see like I'm back on board, right? He just plays a Stitch because like that's all he can do. So like at this point, like I have control of the board at this point in the game now, right? Especially with the back to back be prepared. But I actually threw this game. I threw this game. Can you imagine that? Like this game is throwable at that standpoint, which is kind of insane. He was gonna scoop. He looked at his top deck and he was like, "Yeah, I lost. Like, there's just no way." But I'm like, "Hey, buddy. Like, I'll give you a comeback. Don't worry." I don't know if it's this turn. Maybe it is this turn. Yep, that's the turn. Draw three, baby. Let's go. So okay, so the turn before this, I am not entirely sure if I tapped queen to draw a card or I just forgot to untap the queen. But I'm like, yeah, maybe I drew a card already. I don't know, right? So at that point, that was the misplay. And then since the queen was tapped already or exerted, since the queen was exerted, I was like, I might as well quest with Elsa. It's the same thing. If you had the Rapunzel, you're still gonna draw four. So I'm like, cool, go ahead. But now he drew three, and the Stitch survived, and I had to out it. Dude, Surfer Stitch is such a pain in the ass to out. Like 8 booty is ginormous in this game. Like, what's his name? Maleficent, Monstrous Dragon, whatever, has is at 7, bro. Like, that is crazy. Mufasa is probably the most efficient card I can swing to Stitch, and it's a 1 for 1. Is it 1 for 1? Probably not. But still, like, but at that point, he he Rapunzeled, draw three, next turn draw two. Nah, that's GG, bro. Because like anything from the 5 cards that he drew could be um removals, right? It could be You Forgotten Me, which is like devastating. It could be Beast. It could be just more cards that has like a big booty to like survive turn per turn per turn. And I already like burnt to be prepared to the likelihood of a third and a fourth. It's possible, obviously, but without any mirror on board, which for some reason mirror doesn't like me. Like the magic mirror, it just doesn't like me. I don't think I've played mirror in any of these 3 games. I'm not gonna lie. It's just the cauldron. Cauldron's my boy. So right here, you can definitely see that I'm top decking first of all. My board's really weak actually. Elsa has no value at this point. Maybe I should have just quested. Was there an argument to just quest here? It's 3, 5, 6, 7. I'd be at 18. He'd be at 2, 4, 6, 7, 17. At most 18 would shift Tinker if he doesn't trade into the board. But then Jetsam probably will get. This is one of the other misplays too. I gave that Elsa a rush, right? But my dumbass didn't swing with it. Why? We'll never know. And right here too, freezing Tinkerbell and Rapunzel doesn't make sense because Beast is a 5, which means he could sing Grab Your Sword for free. Right? So that was not smart at all. I should have just tapped. I should have exerted the Beast and Tinkerbell actually. Tinkerbell can shift into Big Tank and then do the Grab Your Sword shenanigans. So, or like sing it for free and then play something else. But I guess I didn't want him to trade with the Beast. I didn't want the Beast to swing into my. No, I didn't want to swing into the Beast because I don't know actually. No, there was no other play. I just tweaked on that one, honestly. Maybe after like he drew three, I was just like, yeah, I probably just I threw that game. so there's really no point. But still, composure, guys, composure. But yeah, at this point, there's really no point. Like I should have just scooped like after he drew three. I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe not right after, but like still, Jesus. At this point, he's like way ahead, right? And I'm top decking through the game. Dude, Rapunzel into Stitch, Surfer Stitch. It's rough. It's very rough. But those are the plays like regularly. Let's just say that someone was playing the queen and actually just wanted to draw a card to gain it, like just to draw a card, right? You shouldn't be doing that because this can happen. Unless you can get rid of the queen, I don't know. Like you just don't want to sing, exert, or challenge someone like for no reason. If they can challenge back at you and survive and heal off of Rapunzel, that's one of the things that you're always looking at going against Amber, any Amber deck, honestly, regardless if they have Rapunzel or not, because you don't know it realistically. But these are both my decks, and I know the what's inside of Amber's Steel on the left, so it was actually easier for me to play around it. And funny enough, Rapunzel and Forgotten Me, I think we kind of realized that those cards are like bad now, right? But obviously they're not. But like the more that people play around those two cards, the less value they have, right? Which is like funny because Lilo Simba used to be those cards. So Lilo Simba, when everyone discovered it, it's like, oh my god, it's the best like combo ever. Like this is just busted. Simba should be like banned or something like that, you know? But then people started playing four befuddles, like four Gastons, right? Rafiki, Hooks and Eric's. Be prepared, not be prepared. Grab your sword, Tinkerbell, like, and then it was just like bad, right? But it really is a good like combo until everyone played cards against it for it, right? Start maining cards just to out those cards. So it's kind of the same thing with Rapunzel eventually when people catch up. Rapunzel and You Forgotten Me, because those cards are like not like You Forgotten Me is probably the least um I guess card that you can play around in a way, especially in this matchup, because in this matchup you can literally just ink. So you get to seven. You don't have to play your hands like that. Like honestly, you really don't. As long as you guarantee your be prepared in hand, right? Like right here, I'm at five ink. And I'm at five hand cards. Like it's just I can play around it because I know he's playing Amber. I was thinking there if Gaston was the better swinger or if Maleficent was the better swinger, but I'm like, yeah, Gaston would have. I mean, Maleficent couldn't out the Prince Eric anyway, so it doesn't matter. That was the right play, I guess. So these two cards, what's his name, Maleficent and Gaston, actually has no value. They're just whatever. Honestly, they mean nothing to me. Honestly, they were better off as ink. I'm not gonna lie to you. That Prince Eric, like, no value on his side either. Like, they were just questing for one, too. Uh, I guess, right? So he uses Tinkerbell's ability, draw and discard one, discards the grab because it has just less value in the early game, so you really don't want to hold into it either. But this is game three. I after the be prepared, right? Now the game starts. This is my turn one. Like honestly, this is where my turn one starts. The beast, ooh. He's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next turn 7, Ink 1, play a Stitch, right? So you want to get rid of one of these people. Definitely. Yeah. This is my Lilo Simba. I'm not gonna lie to you. Ruby Amethyst combo is Aladdin, and then also next turn. This is my Lilo Simba. This is the next one that people are gonna play around, but you really can't play around it. My advice when going against Ruby Amethyst, I feel like it's a more problematic deck, right? My key cards as an Amber Steel player is You've Forgotten Me, and I might just start holding the hooks so that on turn or 8th ink I have enough to like hook Stitch if I have a body already on board. So it's just Forgotten Me, honestly. And not overextending and not playing cards that you don't really have to play. Like there's been a couple of times where I just pass with 7 inks because there was just like I was just gonna play like a small tink what to draw one card later on. Like I don't know, like it just doesn't have a lot of value. But that was game 3. So this is gonna be a deck list for both of the decks. I just want to show you guys the mulligan, what cards to look out for. So for Surfer Control, you just want to prioritize You've Forgotten Me. You have to do it in like a good time. Like when they have 3 hand cards, don't expect 2 hand cards. 3 hand cards is good enough. Sometimes 4 is good enough, but 3 is recommended. You want to prioritize obviously the aerials. You want to put back the songs in the bottom so that your aerials can like have targets. You want to prioritize not overcommitting the board before Be Prepared. You just don't want his Be Prepared to be valuable. A lot of times you want him to be prepared, Stitch, Ariel, Rapunzel, because they already drew cards for you and they already added cards to your hand, so they replaced themselves already. So that's why Be Prepared doesn't really affect you that much unless you are low in hand, you're top decking, and they just blew up your whole board. So don't, just try not to get into that position. And for Ruby Amethyst against Amber Steel, it's honestly just Be Prepared. Obviously, you want to open up with the mirror. It's a long game. They're not going to rush you to death, so you have time. You want Dragonfire. You want the Mauis. You want the Elsas. Because you want to prevent them from having 2 people on board, especially before they get to Surfer Stitch. If you can help to, like, Zeus rush into, like, the small bodies, if anything, or Maui into their small bodies, at the same time not allowing them to attack you back or challenge you back and draw with Rapunzel. So Maui and Zeus are probably the only 2 guys that will swing. Gaston maybe. They don't have like a willpower that will survive the Gaston trade. And most of the time Gaston's probably gonna die anyways, but you just don't want them to have 2 characters on board. And that's what basically you're trying to control in this matchup specifically. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the games. So I had to like speed up the video, obviously, because we're gonna be sitting here for like 2 hours. Thank you for watching. There's gonna be more of this, more IRLs, more tournaments, like locals and stuff like that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. In the comment section, let me know if there's any other tips and tricks that you guys learned throughout playing against or with these type of decks. And I'll see you guys around. Peace.
You have lanterns, right? Damn, lanterns are $9? I think I pulled one.